So today is Wednesday, the 19th of July, and I just want to continue the story of my chapter in the book, The Confession to My Face. Because in January, before he left me in Spain, this was 2018, he sat me down and he wanted to pay money into my business account in the UK. And so he had worked out what the bills were, and he was telling me, this is what is going to happen. And he told me how much money he was going to start to pay into my business account. I never asked for this money, and it was meant to be to pay the bills here. The only thing was, all of the utility bills, insurance, the water, the electricity, were all paid anyway through his bank account, and my name didn't appear on any of the utility bills. So that was January. Then I couldn't stay here on my own anymore. I was suffering panic attacks, and I decided I had to go back to the UK, to go back to the place that we had lived together before he bought the house in Spain. So I booked flights to return to York so I could go and speak with him and see him and then find out, what did he want to do? What was, were we going to break up? Was this the end of the relationship? I could not cope any longer. And so that's why I booked flights. I got a taxi back to the house, and when I arrived, he wasn't there. I still had the key. I had the security fob to turn off the alarm system, so I just let myself in. I lit the fire and then made something to eat. After all this that house had been where I was living, and my things were still in that house. So when he obviously returned, he got a bit of a shock seeing me there. And we had a conversation the next morning, Saturday, February the 10th, where he had started an argument in the bedroom. And because of my financial situation and how he then started paying this allowance, he more or less shouted at me, I didn't have enough money to buy paper to wipe my backside with, is what he said. And I was shocked by that. Anyway, later we continued to try and have a conversation in the kitchen downstairs. And I remember that I wrote a few things down in the notebook that I used to write in. I found it again and I started writing in, and I basically wrote, we've both been through a lot of stress since 2015. Stress can impact relationships and health. We have both felt things were not 100%, but neither of us was strong enough to talk about what we wanted, A, as individuals, B, as partners, lovers and soulmates. So that's what I'd wrote. So the conversation continued downstairs, and basically he was trying to tell me that I should market myself to estate agents in Spain and start working for a local agents. But now, looking back at all of this and knowing what I know now about abusive men and abusive behaviours, I had invested money in a training program to learn marketing, online digital marketing, and he didn't like that. It was very clear that he didn't like me doing anything that might result in a business with an online income. he was dead set against it, basically. So as he was telling me that I should try and focus and be happier, the thing is, I was happy until he confessed to this woman. And basically, I got angry, but it takes a lot to get me angry because I'm non-confrontational and I try to avoid arguments and anger, so I'd rather walk away than to have an argument or start a fight. And so I basically got annoyed or angry, and I said, the only reason I poured my money into an online business education was for us. And then his reaction was even angrier as he stood at one side of the kitchen and I was at the other side of the kitchen. He just ran at me from where he was stood with his arms and fists up, and I just saw his face as he came towards us, and I just hit the floor and curled into a ball because I was basically in fear that he was going to basically hit me. And so I just collapsed to the floor and I was crying. And he just walked past and he left me on the floor. I don't know how long I was lying on the floor, but then he came back and got me up and then took me into the living room and sat me on the chair on the sofa. So that is what happened in February of 2018. So this is more of the truth that he doesn't like, that I have written in the book that I published in May of 2022 with the title Post-Separation Abuse, Betrayal, Abandonment, and What Type of Man.